I worked with a tech CEO for 6 years. We launched 99 projects. Guess how many times I became a partner? 0. Every time his fragile project manager had a crisis, he dropped everything. On the 99th launch, I walked. No message, no fight, just silence. And that's when he finally realized I was the engine. You'd think the 99th time would be the charm. That's what I kept telling myself. 99 launches, meetings, milestone moments where I was supposed to stand beside Seth and be seen, not just as the player, the technician, the ghost in the system, but as his partner. This cruise? It was supposed to be the one that changed everything. My name is Damon. I'm 32. I live in Los Angeles, but I've spent most of my adult life in hotel rooms and high-end gaming lounges, building my name in the pro eSports circuit, and building Seth's empire right along with it. We were docked somewhere off the coast of Florida, aboard this monstrous luxury ship, 3 decks of glass, chrome, and marketing overkill. It was the launch party for our new company, Corset, a boutique gaming studio/influencer brand, years in the making. Our big moment. I showed up to the deck lounge wearing the branded white founder's jacket Seth had made for us. My wrist was in a soft brace, sprained it a couple days ago on a bike ride, nothing major. I figured he'd at least ask how it was. He didn't. Instead, I found him kneeling next to Eli, our project manager, fussing over a damn hangnail like it was a gunshot wound. Do you want ice? Should we cancel the press walk? Seth asked softly, cradling Eli's hand like it was made of glass. It's not a big deal, Eli whispered, but he blinked dramatically like a fainting Victorian heiress. They didn't even look at me. I stood off to the side while some investor I didn't recognize kept trying to get me to pose for photos. I nodded politely and kept watching Seth dote on Eli, cooing over his cuticle while the keynote countdown ticked down on the giant LED behind us. At exactly 7 o'clock, I walked toward the VIP deck. That's where the two of us were supposed to make our official announcement, me and Seth, co-founders, finally going public with our partnership, the moment I'd been promised over and over for 4 years. A security guard stepped in front of me. VIP access only, he said. I am the VIP, I replied, trying not to sound like a dick. Another guard stepped up behind him. Name? Before I could answer, Seth emerged, one arm around Eli, guiding him like a fragile bride. Hey, he called, not to me but to the crowd behind me. We're going to have to push the keynote. Eli's not feeling well. And just like that it was over. No announcement, no speech, no recognition. Just another false start dressed in designer buzzwords. Seth glanced over at me then, like he was just now realizing I existed. He smiled weakly and said, "We'll do lilies in the suite tonight, yeah?" Something soft for the nerves. Lilies. The man had known me for almost a decade and still forgot I was violently allergic. I opened my mouth, then closed it. I didn't have a speech prepared. What was I even going to say? Thank you. Congratulations to everyone but me? Instead, I walked over to the edge of the deck, peeled off the white jacket with our launch crest stitched on the sleeve, and dropped it into the ocean. It made the faintest plop before vanishing under the waves. Then I turned around and left. No drama, no scene, no tears, just quiet. Let Seth explain that one. Let him tell the cameras why the guy who built half the damn brand wasn't standing next to him. Let him tend to Eli's hangnail and pretend this was just another hiccup. I didn't wait for him to follow. He never did. I went home that night, not to some after-party suite or publicist's hotel room, but to my own apartment. Small, cold, quiet. I dropped my phone on the counter and didn't bother checking the messages. I already knew what they'd say. Probably some half-assed, "Where'd you go?" or "Let's talk." Seth never liked confrontation. He preferred drama he could clean up with a statement and a champagne flute. I boiled some pasta, ate it standing up. No music, no screens, just silence and the faint ache in my wrist. Later, I sat on the couch and opened my tablet, not to read the trades or check launch coverage, but to scroll through Eli's social feed. There it was, a selfie in Seth's chair. He was half-turned, head tilted like he just conquered Olympus, fingers tapping on Seth's custom keyboard. Persuaded the boss to play laser tag. Promised pizza. I stared at it. Not angry. Not even hurt, really. Just finished. That's when it hit me. There was never going to be a launch with my name on it. Never going to be a moment where Seth chose me over the carefully constructed illusion he liked to call a team. I wasn't a co-founder. I was just the best player he ever signed and the dumbest one for staying. So I stood up, grabbed a duffel bag, and packed in silence. Just the basics, a couple hoodies, chargers, my backup drives, and the ledger to my crypto wallet. I'd set that up years ago. A little secret stash. Just in case. I left everything else. No notes, no texts, not even a burner goodbye. By midnight, I was on the road. No one stopped me. No one called. I didn't head for LAX. I didn't book a hotel. I drove east, past the suburbs, and then into the dark. By dawn, I rolled into Granvado, my hometown. It looked the same. Beige buildings, LED signs flickering too bright in the early morning haze. I passed the strip mall with the drive-thru chicken joint, the gas station that still sold weird candy from the 90s. I hadn't been back in years, not since I left to chase indie dreams and sponsorship contracts. Back then, I thought legacy meant compromise. Now, it meant a second chance. I pulled into the private garage of a black glass tower downtown, the kind of place that doesn't have a sign because the clients already know where to go. I walked through the marble lobby, past the receptionist who still remembered me, and into the private elevator. 30 floors up, the doors opened, and there he was. My father. Gray suit, silver cufflinks, tablet in hand. He looked up slowly, one brow raised. Damon. Hey, I said. He didn't ask why I was there. Didn't lecture me. Just turned and nodded toward the hallway. Come on, he said. You're already on the books. I stepped inside. Not as a failure. Not as a washed-up gamer. But as a legacy ready to reclaim what I'd walked away from. The game had changed. So had I. It didn't take long to fall back into rhythm. Not gaming strategy, structure, influence, the stuff behind the scenes that no one watching a live stream ever thinks about. My father's firm, Granvado Strategic, was the ghostwriter behind more than half the elite gaming houses on the circuit. They didn't sign talent, they signed outcomes, and now I was part of it. I started small, sat in on a few simulations, relearned the boards, the systems, the forecasts. Within a month, I was designing my own models faster, leaner, more aggressive. A few clients took notice, then more. Then one of the top 3 global teams asked for me by name. I didn't stream, didn't tweet, didn't take calls. Seth started messaging me 3 weeks in. Are you okay? Just talk to me. We had something real, right? I didn't answer. Then a package arrived, black velvet box, no return label. Inside, a sleek wireless mouse, matte silver. One I pointed out in passing at a con in Berlin years ago. I'd said it looked like the kind of thing I'd use to build worlds, not break them. It had a handwritten card tucked inside. I remember. For a second, I just stared at it. Not because it meant something. Because it was exactly what Seth always did. Just enough to keep the door cracked open. Never enough to walk through it. I set the box on my desk. Then I scheduled a press conference. It was held in the Granvado Center ballroom, broadcast live on 4 eSports networks. The crowd thought I was announcing a return to streaming. Seth probably did too. Instead, I walked out in a black bomber jacket with a single logo stitched over my chest. 099. The screen behind me came to life. Sharp font, clean red type. 099. No more retries, just results. That was it. No co-founders, no fragile project managers, no countdowns interrupted by hangnails. Just me. I walked off stage before the applause even faded. Back at the office, I found the velvet box still sitting on my desk. I didn't throw it out. I didn't keep it either. I left it in the lobby. Maybe someone would need it more than I ever did. Seth didn't message again, and I didn't miss him. By the time Corset's Q3 numbers dropped, I'd already laid the groundwork. It wasn't sabotage. That's not my style. This was tactical embarrassment, surgical exposure, a kind of truth that left bruises. See, I knew the system better than anyone. I helped build it. From the internal comms tools to the cloud deployment API, I had fingerprints everywhere. Even if Seth had wiped my name from the public docs. First move? I rerouted a major release stream for their flagship game, Drift Halo. They were supposed to launch a new skin bundle during the Friday tournament block, 100,000 eyes minimum. I inserted a harmless patch protocol that looped the countdown indefinitely. The message read, "Please wait. We're still buffering loyalty." Twitch chat went nuclear. Then I flagged an old security issue in Corset's web client, one I'd warned Seth about over a year ago. Back then he said it wasn't a priority. I agreed until now. I anonymously tipped a tech forum. 30 minutes later, someone posted proof the user giveaway on Corset's site. The one Eli promoted as 100% verified was using fake accounts. Bots, duplicate entries. The whole promo was a manufactured illusion. Next came the memers. One of them took my 099 launch slogan and slapped it under a screenshot of Seth looking panicked at a con. 99 starts. No finish. It trended for 12 hours. I didn't touch their code base. I didn't steal assets. I didn't need to. All I did was tilt the camera slightly, let the public see what was already there. By the end of the week, Corset's subreddit was a graveyard of screenshots and outrage. Investors started to squirm. One even pulled a partnership deal mid-negotiation. Then Seth called. I watched his name pop up on my screen. Let it ring. When it went to voicemail, he didn't even say hello. "You want war?" he snapped. Click. I smiled. 2 minutes later, I booked a venue at the Granvado Business Forum, the biggest strategy summit in North America. I bought a full page in the official program and printed exactly 3 words. 099, we finish. I sent one copy to Seth. No message, no caption. He'd understand. And if he didn't, well, that wasn't my problem anymore. The leak didn't come from a hacker. It came from a handshake I didn't see coming. I was walking out of a quiet panel on digital trust networks when someone called my name. Not my tag. My name. Damon Reyes. I turned and saw a guy in a faded blazer with sharp eyes and a lanyard from some think tank I barely remembered. Aiden Cole, he said, holding out his hand. We met at the Dev Roundtable in Kyoto, 2019. I didn't remember him, but he looked like the kind of person who remembered everything. He pulled out a small black USB drive and placed it gently in my hand. Someone should have told you, he said. You were never just competing with Eli. You were standing in the middle of a corporate acquisition. I frowned. What? He didn't explain. Just smiled sadly and walked away. Back at the office, I plugged the drive into a quarantined unit. Encrypted. Easy to crack if you knew what to look for. I did. Inside, payment logs, anonymized but traceable, calendar entries, private chat threads, dozens of entries marked EC. Eli's initials. The logs went back years. Eli hadn't just been an oversensitive project manager. He was a mole, a fully embedded asset from Nexus Trust. That name punched a hole in my chest. Nexus wasn't a household name. It was quieter than that. A stealth equity firm with a reputation for shadow plays, moving quietly into eSports startups, embedding talent, creating internal churn, then buying out the surviving founders when everything cracked. They called it value reshaping. I called it sabotage. The chats were worse than I expected. Eli had been feeding them everything: financial forecasts, player contracts, dev roadmaps. But the real hit came from a series of strategy notes titled, Soft Dismantling, Doctor. That was me. I read the plans 3 times. They didn't want me out of the company. They wanted me destabilized, weakened just enough to lose leverage, then edged out before I noticed. The sprained wrist? That wasn't just an accident. I remembered now Eli had recommended that bike trail, said it was good for mental clarity. That trail had 0 signage and a hidden pothole at mile 6. Coincidence? Maybe? But suddenly, every delay, every crash, every last-minute crisis Seth blamed on Eli's nerves, it all looked like part of a script. A long game. And Seth? He wasn't just blind. He was used, propped up as a pawn, flattered with just enough loyalty to make him predictable. I wasn't betrayed by a partner. I was targeted by an operation. And the worst part? It had worked. I'd walked away. They nearly won. Until now. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the drive still plugged into the machine. They wanted silence. They were about to get something else. Seth didn't open the door right away. I had to knock twice. The second time, he cracked it open just enough for me to see the panic swimming in his eyes. Damon, he said, like I was a ghost. I didn't wait for an invite. I walked in, USB in hand. I found out who Eli really is, I said, and what he was doing while you were busy playing caretaker. Seth blinked slowly. What are you talking about? I tossed the drive onto his coffee table. He's a Nexus Trust asset. He's been reporting on us on you for years, feeding them internal data, manipulating your schedule, destabilizing your team. Seth didn't move. He's not anxious. He's strategic. He was put in place to make sure Corset collapsed from the inside. I watched Seth's face crumble in stages. First confusion, then disbelief, then that quiet shame that shows up when someone realizes they were never steering their own ship. He was playing both of us, he whispered. I nodded. Seth sat down, still staring at the USB like it might bite him. What do you want from me? He asked, voice hollow. Help me finish it, I said. We tear Nexus apart. Not out of revenge. For everyone else they're lining up next. He looked up, and for the first time in a long time, I saw something I recognized: focus. I'm in, he said quietly. We didn't hug. We didn't apologize. We got to work. Over the next 10 days, I assembled a strike team. Not pro gamers, not streamers. Veterans. Women forced out after algorithm shifts. Developers who got sidelined for speaking up. Modders banned for being better than the official dev teams. They called us irrelevant. So we called ourselves Control Z. And then we hit undo on every front Nexus had. Our first target was their Singapore shell. Within hours, we exposed internal memos showing manipulation of eSports odds through sponsored betting channels. Next, their Berlin front burner contracts, paper co-founders, all falsified. We leaked those directly to the European Gaming Integrity Coalition. By the time we reached their Tokyo node, we didn't have to hide. Forums lit up with the hashtag #NoMoreNexus. And through it all, Seth and I worked together like we used to, before the lies, before the shadow games. He handled the legal filters and internal data pulls. I handled the field team. We didn't talk about us. We didn't need to. This wasn't about rebuilding. It was about burning something down. Together, Control Z dismantled Nexus's global framework. No DDoS, no sabotage, just exposure. Truth laid bare. By the end of the second week, Nexus's entire European presence folded. And Eli? He vanished. But I knew we'd see him again. And next time he'd know who he was dealing with. He waited for me outside the Granvado Tech Park, where the breeze carried a hint of storm. Not enough to be dramatic, just enough to make everything feel unsettled. Eli stood by the fountain. Same tailored jacket, same soft-spoken posture, like he just stepped out of a brand presentation. He smiled when he saw me, like we were old friends meeting after a misunderstanding instead of enemies sharing the aftermath. I figured you'd show up, he said. Eventually. I didn't answer right away. I walked up, stopping just short of the circle of granite where he placed something on the ledge. A silver coin, embossed with Corset's launch logo. He tapped it once with his finger, the one Seth had minted for your 100th milestone. He kept it all this time, said he was waiting for the right moment. I stared at it, then picked it up. It was heavy, denser than it looked. Polished, meaningless. You expect me to take this? I said. Eli shrugged. I figured, you'd want something to mark the end. Closure maybe. I looked him in the eye. You expected me to stay blind. You forgot I built the game engine. His smile faltered. For a second the PR mask cracked just a little. I did what I had to, he said. I was trying to survive. You sabotaged people who trusted you. You turned real connections into spreadsheets. Eli shook his head slowly. You think you're the only one who lost something? I was recruited, trained. I didn't get to choose which side I was on. No, I said, but you chose to stay. I turned the coin over once more in my hand, then flicked it into the fountain with a clean metallic splash. It sank without a trace. Eli flinched. That your apology? I asked. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I walked past him, left him standing there like an abandoned cutscene. That night Seth called me. Not from an office line. No cameras, no handlers, just his voice low and uncertain. I just need one answer, he said. Do you still love me? I didn't hesitate. No. I love being free. Silence. Then a long exhale. Okay, he said. Then I guess that's it. Yeah, I said. That's it. We hung up. The next morning I logged into an anonymous server I'd been maintaining for years, originally for backup builds, early mod tools, private notes. I uploaded a zip file titled Sidelined PDF and seeded it to 4 mirrored forums. It wasn't code. It was truth. An exposé, 50 pages of first-hand insights into power dynamics in eSports, manipulation, monetized loyalty, the emotional currency of team culture. I didn't name names. I didn't have to. Anyone who read it would know. It didn't go viral right away. Just caught in a few niche discords, small game dev communities, and encrypted inboxes that passed it like contraband. But by midnight it had reached Reddit. By morning it was on Kotaku. I didn't stick around to watch the fallout. I wiped the server, deleted every trace, and disappeared. Not into a scandal, not into shame, into authorship. I didn't need to win anymore. I had already rewritten the rules. It started with whispers. Message boards lit up with threads titled Zeroed Out. Who wrote it? Some thought it was a whistleblower from Riot. Others were sure it came from a disgruntled exec with a vendetta. A few speculated it had to be Damon Reyes, but no one could prove it. I didn't correct them. I was already gone. Not off-grid, not underground, just somewhere quiet. I settled in a coastal town in Oregon, the kind where the biggest tech hub was a refurbished library with free Wi-Fi, and a neon sign that buzzed whenever it rained, which was often. I rented a small bungalow a few blocks from the ocean. It had creaky floors, a garden full of stubborn rosemary, and a porch that felt like it belonged to someone wiser than me. It became home faster than I expected. I didn't play competitively anymore, didn't run a company, didn't go back to streaming. What I did instead was breathe. I wrote lore for indie games under pseudonyms, mentored teens who showed up at the library with cheap laptops and huge dreams, showed them how to optimize code, how to protect their IPs, how to spot people like Eli before it was too late. No sponsors, no metrics, just people learning how not to get eaten. Some days I walked barefoot down the beach, wind in my face, waves crashing like static. No notifications, no meetings, no brand to carry. And then one afternoon, as I was packing up at the library, a kid, maybe 13, hoodie too big for his frame, looked up from his screen and said, "Hey, did you really destroy a billion-dollar company with code?" I smiled. "No," I said. "I rewrote the ending." He blinked, confused but curious. I ruffled his hair on the way out. Back home, I sat on the porch with a notebook in my lap. No logos, no laptops, just ink and ideas. I wrote a line at the top of a clean page. New story, new player. The wind picked up, scattering rosemary leaves across the steppe. I didn't chase them. I just watched them move and started writing.